Hello, and welcome to the Digital Experience Teams Sprint Planning for the week of March 15th, or 2 weeks through the 28th, I believe it is. So we'll be going over what we plan to release or work on this week, our sprint.
Yeah,
And I think first up is Tyler.
I added the first three here. The sprint timing is a little weird because it's like it ends the Sunday, but then like in the doc here it ends the Wednesday and like starts the Thursday. So the days are a little off. Maybe I will make a message or ask a question about that elsewhere. So I included the first three items just because I did them at the end of last week, which was like I think technically part of this iteration. And they're in review. Lauren and I had worked on duplicating the existing blog styles for the new Slippers blog component that's been reviewed one stage and just needs engineering review. And then I pushed up an MR for like conflicting styles and resolving that, which also need to review along with an image gallery MR as well. So those three things are like ready and like kind of done in this iteration, but maybe last iteration, something like it depends, like last milestone, but this iteration. And then I'm on, so we all have Family and Friends Day Friday. I'm on PTO next week. So I'm just going to wrap up. There are like 4.5 components to do, which is just the pull quote, the merch banner, and the sidebar, which is that half component because it's kind of same, but kind of different. The featured image for the blogs, and then just like some of the link styling as well. So that's going to be my plan to like get that wrapped up this week so that we can, as Lauren had put down some of the like blog wrap up tasks for the whole milestone. And then after that, if I've got capacity, I made an issue. Sanmi had mentioned in Slack about doing like a workshop on Slippers workflow and like what we're thinking about using and stuff. And we had a good conversation, I think, in retro about like just some of the missing docs and workflow stuff. So if I've got, so I made an issue for questions to like work on them async. If I've got remaining capacity, then I'll be down to like fill out some of my thoughts there. But if I don't, perhaps that's like good content on me for you to like build your workshop off of or collaborate there. So yeah, that's my plan. I think Tina is up next.
Thanks, Tyler. The biggest item on my deck for this iteration is the event templates using commit as a use case. So I weighted that as 6 points because we're not only going to do this once. We're going to create a set of templates, as I said, using commit as a use case, but they have to work for other types of events as well. So it's a little bit more involved than just a single wireframe. Also, I have a couple blog issues that I'd like to wrap during this iteration just to keep the momentum going on blog updates. There was a request to update the thumbnail images, and we also need a different type of CTA block for in-body related content posts. I'd like to do a handbook page update. I think Lauren is going to do the Git 101 this week and teach us designers how to update the handbook. So I weighted that as a 1 because it'll probably take me a good part of the day for my first handbook page update. And last, I put this as a weight of 1, but I'm not even sure it's really going to make an appearance in this iteration. But we did apply some heat mapping to a couple pages. And once those come in, I will take a look at those and make a plan for next steps for the free trial user journey OKR. And that's it. So for me, Brendan is next.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention, everyone's got kind of different amounts of sprint point capacity. So as we're weighting these, keep in mind that one person might have 20, another person might have 10, and do keep in mind your PTO requests also impact how much you can do in a sprint. But yeah, so the first thing I'm going to do is get an access request filed for the engineers to use Marketo, because as we realized at the end of last week, I'm the only one with access to the system at the moment. Next up is a pricing page A/B test follow-up. We did one recently where we were testing the table view of the feature comparison versus kind of a list under the plans. And so the next test we're going to do is the list under the plans collapsed versus the list under the plans expanded by default, and see if there's a better performance. That might give us more information about which of the versions we want to move forward with, if we want to do the list under the plans or the feature comparison table, and inform our future decisions on the pricing page. After that, I'll be working on a proof of concept for basically a place where we can store test results. So where, in my experience, it's been good to, obviously we want to put the information issues so it's public and searchable and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we want to record what we've been doing, but we don't really have a single source of truth for where the tests, where we can go to look at to find the results of tests and do an analysis on, this performed better or worse because of button color, and then move that information forward into a repository where we can save that information. So hoping to establish that in a Figma file. This is based on some research I did in earlier issues, and I talked about it with Stephen. So kind of going to spend some time getting that set up based on the past few experiments we've done, taking screenshots, writing, X, Y, and Z about the test and why things were done. So that'll give us a good kind of footing moving forward. And the next thing is, as I mentioned about the Marketo access request, there's a quick pair programming exercise that we can do. And we'll try and record that so that we'll have that, and it's open to multiple people. So we'll have that information for those who aren't familiar with working in Marketo. And then also I made sure to reserve some time to catch up from PTO. And if you're ever on a week of PTO, I do encourage you the next sprint after that to reserve some time to catch up, because there's going to be a lot of issues to go through and merge requests and other things, comments, etc. And so, yeah, that's it for me. And it looks like Jess is up next.
Hey, yeah, so I'm working on the navigation updates. Pretty much have desktop locked down, and next is just to do the mobile version. And I expect that'll probably be done within a week or so. And then we also have these featured partner pages. So I finished up the template last Wednesday, and AWS is our first one. That's kind of what we used for the template. So that one should be pretty solid. Right now, we're just waiting on kind of final copy, final assets. And once we have those, it should be pretty easy just to fill in all the others. So we have 6 total. I don't think there's any particular order to them, but we'll fill those in as they come. And I think Lauren's next.
Yeah, so for this one, we're executing a new brand message on the website. There are 2 epics. The first one's applying it to the top 10 pages, and I'm working close with Val on that. And then I've created a second epic for the follow-up iterations of that. So that's going to take a lot of my time for today and tomorrow. There's a couple slippers components, the blog header and breadcrumbs / tags that we will be adding to the repo. An issue came in last week with the Typeform content type. There aren't any real good instructions on how to build your Typeform in Typeform and style it and then embed it. So I've got the passwords, and I'm going to document that and add it to the handbook for our marketing folks. And then I just created 2 issues here for me and Tyler to actually implement the new Slippers blog to the entire blog. That's going to be a big one. And then a second issue for catching and fixing all of the edge cases that are surely going to come up. And that one might extend into next iteration as well. All right, over to Laura.
Yeah, I have a couple of Slippers contributions there. So form fields, building those out, as well as tooltips. And then I have carryover from last iteration to finally finish the Slippers grid documentation or component that we have, grid element. And then I have a TBD. I haven't created an issue for this yet. I wanted to use a checkmark icon when I was building Slippers checkboxes, but I don't know if there's a strategy for icons in place yet. So doing some work into how we can add the large library of icons into slippers, and the best way forward with that. And breakpoints and slippers, I grabbed this because it is related to the grid work that I've been doing and some of the spacing, padding, margin issues that I've been fixing. So that rounds me out for the sprint. Up is Javi.
Hello. Some of the things that I want to work on is making it easier for people to contribute with slippers. And one really cool and interesting and not super hard thing to do that Tyler mentioned was having like a yarn script that essentially lets you create like all of the files you need when you create a new component within slippers. That way you know, people can just have like all of the templated things that essentially are just copy pastable, ready and set to go. I think that's kind of like a developer experience type thing that like makes it easier for people to get things done, and also makes it so that like you don't really have to understand what Storybook does for you to like use the thing, which I think is like a pain point for people, because it's like anyway, Storybook is complicated and I don't think people really need to understand how it works. Footer work, this is stuff from last iteration that I didn't have time to do. This could be a rabbit hole that I'm like pursuing, because I think that some of the questions that might bubble up from this is the actual creation of the actual creation of the component in slippers is one thing, but also like that integration plan is like interesting, because like, does that mean I'm making a partial in slipper in www? Am I then just using a new layout for that? Like, there's a lot of ways that we could go about it. And so I gave myself a generous amount of weight, just accounting for those questions and things that will probably slow me down. I also have a weight of 2 for things that I want to clean up from last iteration, and I have 3 MRs linked. I've just left open, so I'm trying to clear those up. That's all for me. Up next is Sami. Oh, Sami, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Avi. So this sprint, I'm going to be working on the highlighted partners page, which may carry on into our next sprint, because we are still waiting for some assets that Jesse is still waiting for in order for us to close the design issue. Well, I'm going to be working to put the wireframe and everything into place so that when the asset comes, then everything comes together. Then I'm going to be creating some more 6 related issues to the same highlighted partners page, because we have to build individual 6 pages for all our partners, and I think we have 6 of them presently. So that is what I'm going to be working on this sprint. Then during this sprint, we're going to be having a peer programming for slippers. For slippers, Avi, Laura, and Tyler are working on it presently, but I want to be the eye from the out of the box. I want to be the second pair of eyes that looks into everything that we're doing, test it to ensure that we have something that is reusable and fits into the criteria of the things we've set up to do. So the last thing that I'm going to be working on is with Brandon on Marketo. Marketo is going to be getting the license for all of us so that we can always log into it and see how it works. So it's going to be my first rodeo working on Marketo, and I really want to nail this. So those are the stuffs I'm going to be working on during the sprint, and it's going to be awesome. That's everything. Let's go back to Brandon.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. One thing to note is Stephen is currently out, so he'll probably list his contributions later async in the Google Doc. But yeah, thanks, everyone, and looking forward to a good sprint with everyone. Later.
Yeah, thank you.